Hey, it's Matt here from carpetlaunch.com, and in this video I'm going to show you the way to absolutely explode the growth in your carpet cleaning business, but it relies on you being able to get over a hurdle. So let me dive in and show you the secrets to absolutely exploding the profits in your business. So first, let me just explain to you how this typical problem occurs, and you need to understand this, because if you can't overcome this, you cannot possibly grow your carpet cleaning business. But this is basically what happens. So the carpet cleaner goes and pays, say, $20 or $30 per lead or whatever from Facebook ads or Google ads or whatever, lead, Thumbtack, etc. And then they sell the carpet cleaning job for $120, and they end up with, say, $20 in ad costs, $20 in other costs, $80 profit. The job takes, say, let's say just 2 hours, including drying, and they work out $40 net profit per hour. So what happens is they run some ads for a normal priced offer, and because it's a normal priced offer, they don't get bowled over with clicks or anything like that. So what happens is they get in consistent leads, they trickle in, they don't really look after the ads, and they never fill out the calendar. So what happens is they come to the conclusion, advertisers they think that advertising doesn't work. They start and stop and try new things. They keep trying all these different things, and they keep coming to the wrong conclusions. And ultimately what happens is they fail to get the traction they deserve. So then what happens is they come and work with someone like us for a little while, right? And if this person doesn't educate them first, they fail again, because what they hear is they have someone like us work with them, and they say, look, you've got to run a hot offer. And they look at what other people are doing, and they see that, Stanley Steamer and Oxyfresh and all these people are running hot offers, and they go, okay, cool, so I've got to run a hot offer. But what happens is that actually makes their problem worse. Let me show you. So again, they run and they pay their ads, let's say $20 a lead. This time they do a sale price of $99. They end up with, say, $60 profit after they pay $20 for ad and $20 in other costs. It takes about 2 hours, and now the hourly rate is down to $30. So what happens is they get a flood of new leads, and at first they're really excited. Oh, wow, getting all these new leads. They work super hard for, somewhere between maybe 1 and 6 weeks or 2 and 6 weeks. And then they get the odd person that's a bad lead or one answer the phone. So they start to think that their leads are going bad and they're no good and they're not getting paid enough. And all they really want is they're wishing for fewer high-paying jobs. So they start to think that ads don't work. They start and stop, and they try new things again, and they ultimately fail to get the traction they deserve in their business. And we see this has been repeated with some of the people we start to work with. They might have gone through this cycle like 30 times over 20 years, and they still haven't worked out what works. So let's see what's going through their head and why they keep failing at this, because this is what they think is happening. They're paying their $200 in ads, right? They get, say, 20 leads in. These red ones are the ones that they missed out on. They were bad leads, or they couldn't sell them, or whatever else. The person wasn't ready, or they misread the ad, etc., etc. So they get, say, they lose 6 and they get, say, 14 jobs. So 14 jobs at, say, $100 each. They end up with $1,400 in sales, minus, say, about $400 in costs, which includes the ads if they rent them themselves. So they get about $1,000 profit. They do a little bit of maths, and they go $1,000 over 14 jobs, $71.42 per profit per job. And then they go, each job's taking me about 2 hours. I'm only earning about $35 per hour. The maths is done for you down here. And they start again to wish they had fewer higher paying jobs, and they go and start searching, and they now think that their ads don't work, and they stop trying. And again, they fail and they don't succeed. They think things don't work. Now, here is what we see is really happening. Like, we're experts in this. We know exactly what happens, right? We've done this so many times it's not funny. And even, if we run ads for someone for 1 week or 1 month, just a batch of 20 ads, this is exactly what we see happens probably 85 or 90% of the time, right? So they run the ads, they spend, say, $200. When we do the analysis, this is what we see. They actually got $1,600 worth of sales. Why? They still had these 6 in here that they lost, but in amongst them, when we dig in and ask the customers, or we ask them the details about the jobs they actually got, we always find that there were 1 or 2 jobs that came in from a hot offer where they actually wanted a whole house cleaned, and they just clicked on the ad anyway, made an inquiry, and they ended up getting the whole job worth, say, $200. So they got 12 sales at $100, And then they got these two $200 jobs. So they actually got $1,600 worth of sales minus their $400 worth of cost is $1,200 profit. 1,200 profit over 14 jobs is now 85.71. So that's still nothing to write home about, right? But it's better than what we had. So then we see, what we also see is time and time again, like we just had one, I was just checking the data like 5 minutes ago. We had one we ran last week. It was 20 leads as a test program for someone. What we saw was we turned it off, and in the 3 to 4 days after the campaign was finished, we got 3 more jobs come in, including one that was easily going to be a $200 plus job. And we see that repeatedly. When you turn the ads off or after a campaign's kept running, the referrals from these people actually keep coming in. And so this up here, up the top half, is what we call our front end profit. This down here, referrals and repeat sales, which I'm about to show you more of, is our back-end profit. And that's where all our profit is made, okay? Just watch. You're going to learn something incredible here in a sec, right? So even just in this situation, one batch of 20 leads that was run over 1 week, we picked up 2 times $100 jobs, plus we got a $200 job. So we actually made $300 out of referrals. So the total profit from that one campaign was now $1,500. The back end increased profit by $300. So the back end profit increased by 20%. Now, that's better, but it's nothing to write home about. It's actually not good. And this is why a lot of people stop doing ads very early on, is because they see these sorts of numbers and they go, it's not worth it. Stay with me. You'll see why it's worth it. So behind this grey box, I've actually got what happens into the future. So this portion here is what I just showed you then, where they made $1,600 in sales on the front end. They ended up with $1,200 worth of profit for 14 jobs. They made $300 on the back end, and they increased their profit by $300 and 20% on the back end. So that's what we typically see in a first batch of 20 leads. Now, as time goes on and we get into, say, a second or a third batch of 20 leads, what we typically see is this. We still haven't got many repeat customers coming in because they've just had their carpets cleaned, although you do get the odd one occasionally when they've had their carpets cleaned and, like, say, 2 weeks later there's been a spill or a stain walked onto the carpet and they call them back. But typically we don't see many. So what we start to see as the batches go on into the second, third, fourth batch is the referrals start to increase. And they basically increase by around about 2 or 3, well, let's say 1 to 3 per batch of 20, right? So this is, say, around about batch maybe 3, right? So what you tend to happen is you still have the exact same numbers for the front end, roughly. They might be different by 1 or 2, but they're typically around that. Then what happens is with the referrals, they start to roughly double, right? And so you end up with, say, 4 lots of $100 jobs come in. And remember, with referrals, we've got no marketing costs. They were just referred to us, right? So you got 4 lots of, say, $100 come in, and then you end up with, say, 2 times $200 jobs. So you end up with $600 in referrals. So now, in this batch of 20, we're winding up with, say, $1,800 worth of profit. Our back end has increased by $600, and now our back end increase in profit is 40%. Now we're starting to see that this is effective, but we're still not blown away. So then we progress maybe into the next batch of 20. Maybe we're getting into our third or fourth or fifth batch of 20 leads here. And all of a sudden, the magic starts to happen. What happens is we get 1 or 2 repeats. Maybe someone had, half their place cleaned. Or maybe they, doesn't matter whatever reason, but we start to get a couple of repeats, right? And so what happens is the top half of this diagram is the exact same as this one I just explained to you. But all of a sudden, they get a couple of repeats. They get, say, 2 cheap repeats and 1 of these $200 job repeats. So what happens is they now get an extra $400 profit. Look what suddenly magically happens. And this is when life becomes easy as a carpet cleaner. You spent only $200. You got a total profit of $2,200. You got $1,200 profit up here off your 20 leads. You got, say, $600 profit here in your referrals. You got $400 profit in your repeats, and then you ended up with a total profit of $2,200. Back end increased by $1,000, and that means your back end profit increased your total profit by 83%. Now you're starting to see the magic, right? but it's still not as good as it gets. So as we get down the path further, our front end stays the same. We keep spending, say, 200. We're getting in these 20 odd leads. By the way, sorry, that should not say 2,000. That should say 1,400, and that should say 1,400, and that should say 1,400, and that should say 1,400. But nonetheless, that hasn't affected any of these calculations that we've done. It's just from an old slide. Now, these referrals here, look at what starts to happen. As we've done more and more of these batches and we're getting more people referring, we're getting repeats, we get, say, 12 months down the track, we start to get this flood of referrals coming in from our previous customers, especially if we have some type of active referral or reminder system in place, right, where we make offers to our previous customers. That can be via email, text, it could be pamphlets dropped in their letterbox, it could be a flyer posted out to them. It doesn't really matter. It just matters that it actually happens, right? What happens is we end up with this flood of referrals. We end up with, say, 15 referrals. Now we've got $2,100 profit coming in from referrals. We get our repeats because we've had lots of previous customers and it's been, say, over 12 months or around 12 months since they had their carpets cleaned. So we get, say, 10 repeats. Through that time, we might have had, 600 customers. We might have had 400, we might have had 200. It doesn't matter. These numbers are just to guide you, right? So you end up with, say, 10 repeat customers. That's $1,400 profit. You've got these 10 worth 100. You've got 2 valuable ones there. Again, up here, you've got your 15 cheapies, and then you've got your 3 good customers worth, say, 200 each. But then this next level of magic happens. We call these our referrals. So what happens is, after, say, 12, 18 months, you've had so many people that have been referrals that they're now starting to make referrals. So you end up with this next layer of profit to get. It's like a cumulative snowball that just keeps happening. And if I was to drag this out, we would end up with a diagram that, for a big carpet cleaner that looks 10 levels deep like this. Right? That's why Stanley Steamer, that's why Oxyfresh, that's where all those big companies just market, because they understand that the marketing causes this just by time, right? So what happens is you end up with, say, $600 profit here, $1,400 there, $2,100 there, $1,200 there. That's a total profit of $5,300. You're still spending the exact same as marketing as you were back here. It's just that this flood of people that kept coming in has caused this to grow into this, into this, into this, into this, into this over time. And it's just a function of time. So all you really have to be able to do is spend the $200 on marketing and keep doing it. If you keep doing it, it grows and grows and grows and grows. And so if we look at these numbers, they got $5,300 in profit. Their back end increased their sales from $1,200, increased it by $4,100 to $5,300, right? So their back end profit is actually making 341% more than their front end now, right? That's when the magic happens. You're starting to see the magic happen here. If you're hyper aware and you've watched a video like this, you're starting to see the magic happen here, but you've got to just, it's not going to happen. There's nothing you can do to make it happen overnight. What happens is you get this explosive growth just by repeating this cycle, okay? Now, the start of this video said how to get explosive growth in your carpet cleaning business. So this is how you do it. What you do is you recognize that these numbers here are dictated by how many times you cycle through this. So what you want to do is cycle through these batches of 20 leads as fast as you possibly can. So every time you can afford to spend another $200 or $400 on ads, you put through another 20 customers or another 20 leads as fast as you can. And you cycle through that as fast as you can, and you're going to wind up here. You're going to accelerate this and move this forward. If you spend at half the speed, achieving this is going to take twice as long. And it gets even better because you can then start to raise your prices a little bit. And you might miss out on one sale here and one there and one there, one there, one there, one there. But what's still going to happen is you're still going to be up around that 5.6 to 6.2 mark by increasing your prices $20 odd. You become a price maker instead of a price taker. But you just got to be careful that you never stop getting in leads, because if you stop this here stuff is going to dry up in 2, 3, 6, 12 months time.